Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Headspace Podcast. It's your boy, HSR.
It's your boy, Chris Chrome.
And we are back. Sorry for the missing episodes. We didn't stop doing this. I tumbled off of my bicycle, bumped my head, received a concussion, and it prevented me from recording for a while. Now we're back, the health has returned, and we are here to talk about some albums again. So how we do it for those of you that are new here is we go through each album track by track and discussing it. We are not the most experienced hip-hop heads. This is more of a journey to see what's going on in the world of rap music and to learn and to just kind of get an idea for the albums out there and to kind of not be so ignorant with it. Anyway, that's just to let you know we're not the experts on the the artists that we talk about, etc. Before we go into it, we do have Patreon now, so we want to give a shout out to Mozart, who is our first Patreon. He's an awesome dude. Thank you. And if you do join us on Patreon, you can participate in the request raffle, which is where once a month we are going to pick an album only from the people of this tier of Patreon who've requested it. So each person gets to throw in a request. We randomly pick one of those. So right now, as it stands, basically Mozart gets a free request every month until somebody else joins them. And then, we pick between the two, etc. And so you can check that out. And we do appreciate all of your interactions. We finished the Grind to 1,000 subscribers contest, and we'll have a new contest soon. So if you subscribe...
somebody finally...
Yeah, we gave it a Fluent Truant, got $100. We'll be doing his request, MF Doom's, I believe it's Born This Way, within the next couple of weeks because he did win that prize. Gio, the second prize winner of $50, has yet to request it. And Mozart requested The Last Emperor's The Legend of Bigfoot album, which we've done. And so you can check that out on the channel. That was on the Classic Quest a couple weeks ago before I fell off my bicycle. And so we do appreciate all of your comments. So if you want to participate in future contests, it's going to be retroactive. So you can like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment about the review, about the album, etc. Participate in the conversation, and you'll be entered in a draw in the future to win Amazon gift cards and review requests and other such fun prizes. So to prove that we do love the comments, we like to read our favorite comment of last week, but it wasn't really last week, and this was on Royce da 5'9's The Book of Ryan, which is the last album we reviewed on this show. And this comment came from Andre BM, and I picked this comment more because I wanted your opinion on what he had to say here, and I wanted to see what people thought in general. He goes, Logic's verse in regards to the Caterpillar remix, my God, please. First rapper that has a mental breakdown in the middle of a self-called hard verse. I hope the industry don't get this dude on a feature no more. I'm done with all those biracial verses. And if you haven't listened to the Logic album, he really went in on that subject. It's not really my place to comment on it. I don't really feel qualified personally. But I just wanted to know what you thought about Logic and his verse there, and how you felt about it, and what you thought about the Book of Ryan in general. Anyway, enough with that. I think we're ready to get started here with tonight. Why don't you, Mr. Christopher, introduce the album that we will be discussing?
Well, the album we're discussing today is A$AP Rocky's new album, Testing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this came out, and I can't say I've ever listened to an A$AP Rocky project before. I have heard a few of his songs along the way here and there. I found him to be quite clear, and I liked his flows in general, but I never got into him. He didn't necessarily seem to be in the realm of like what he rapped about, of being interested, like the stuff I was interested in when he came out. So at that time I was a bit of a snob and whatever. So I guess I just kind of slept on him and the mob in general. Of late, I do like the Plain Jane song, but that's really, I don't really know a lot about these guys. What about you? Are you a fan of the A$AP mob and these guys?
When the song Purple Swag came out is when I started hearing about him. People I knew were listening to him. I heard him in passing. I never really jumped on one of his full albums. I think Long Live A$AP. I heard songs off of that as well. But other than that, all I kind of really knew about the A$AP, like the mob, was that I always thought of them to be like the newest kids on the block, the hottest kids on the block. Like, I know that they're like very into fashion and and what's like new around the curve, what's coming out, and always trying to be like the first to get it. So I always just kind of saw them as like wanting to chase like the newest thing.
Right. I've kind of like looked at the wiki page of them before, so I don't know. But there is still stuff to talk about because before we get into the album, I want to discuss the Lab Rat live performance art piece that ASAP Rocky did to promote this album about a week ago. So I've linked to that below this video, and if you haven't seen this at all, it is totally worth your time. I can't say if you'll like it or dislike it, but it was enthralling. Like I kind of got stuck there.
Interesting.
I watched about 50 minutes of this thing, so I didn't quite finish it, but it's like a performance art piece he did in that place in New York where all the performance art piece happens. I think it's the same place that Jay-Z did the Picasso thing on, but instead of just standing there and rapping for 6 hours, he actually put together like this whole thing. Like I'm gonna just talk about it, but I know Chris watched it a bit with me, but I don't think you didn't really see it much. No,
I didn't see it much, no, but like when we were discussing, I started getting the concept of it.
Right. So you have like him in. So you just see like the first 15 minutes is nothing because they started late, and they did it over YouTube Live, which is super interesting just because of the way they marketed it. It's like it was just interesting how they utilized their platform effectively to get like serious reach. And so he's on YouTube Live, and everybody's chatting in the chat in the weirdest shit. If you ever watch the chat on this thing, like that's part of the fun is seeing what the ridiculous crap people are saying is.
Right.
And then it's just this box in the middle of the room, and then all of a sudden, finally, some noise happens, and the lights go on, and like it like the curtain goes up or whatever, and like ASAP's just like in this icy water, like waking up, like what's going on? And then like there's these lab control experiment people on the side giving him instructions, and he's like going around, and he like has to go through these menial tasks and answer questions, and he's being classically conditioned the whole time. Like they'll say shit like right hand, and then a sound will happen and a color will flash and his hand shoots up, and then they play up later on the fact that as they're drilling him with questions and stuff, they can just trigger the sound and the light and his hand shoots up, and just stuff like that. It actually had like a point to it. I was like, when you're really watching it, stuff starts to click. Like just at one point they like ask him to make a song, and he's pulling on this like exercise machine, and different sounds are coming out, and then the interviewer guy kind of interrupts him and goes, well, do you mind if I ask you questions while you're working so I can understand your process and blah 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 as you're creating it? And he's like, well, it's kind of hard to like write a song while you're being distracted and stuff, and just kind of goes through a bunch of stuff where it's symbolically representing the struggle he's had putting this album together through these surreal and ridiculous antics. Like he has his friends get brought in, and then they get taken away quick, and he points out that that's not how collaborations work, and this, that, the next thing. And like I'm not gonna say it's the most fantastic thing I've ever seen, but as far as like actual events or stunts to promote an album, like I really appreciate the level of effort that he put into this and how well thought out it was. And you just get this sense that like you get a good sense of his personality. He almost turns it into an interview of sorts where he just takes the time to answer questions that would have been asked by interviewers, but then also throws in like ridiculous shit like tell us about the time you lost your virginity and this, that. Like it's just so random, and it's just so weird with flashing colors, and then he starts drinking milk at one point, and like it's just just bizarre.
That happened that I saw were very bizarre, were very, very weird. But throughout our conversation that we were having, and you were like informing me on what like certain parts that they were doing, it looks like ASAP's also trying to, from what I got, right, he's trying to also represent like life and how like we're kind of like people are trapped, and people are like maybe certain people who are chasing a goal feel like they're trapped with distractions, and they have to try to evade that and stuff like that, you know. So it's I could see how it's a lot about the album after I heard it. But I also think maybe he's trying to go like at a bigger picture.
Well, yeah, I feel like the box is like the box in his mind that traps him in the prisons, and he's just trying to like I guess, literally give us a show, and it was about an hour-ish, a bit more than an hour, like a clear like thing.
Hour and a half.
His well, the first 15, 20 minutes is absolutely nothing. So the
Okay.
video is an hour and a half, and then like his music gets interloped into it. Moby plays for a while, so it was really fun to listen to Porcelain again. And I did this before I listened to the album because if we want to just kind of pivot to that, it's called Testing, and this is supposed to be a little bit of an experiment to try out new sounds and kind of move away from the direction he's been. It's like, so I really like the title because it's just a way of saying, yo, listen, like this one, it's an experiment, right? It's just
It's
me
very
fucking
literal.
around, like, and then it kind of matched the idea of him being tested on in this other art piece. So I thought there was a good marketing congruency. The colors of the testing matched the symbol on the hazmat suit that you would see in this thing. So a good consistent branding. And then you have a picture of the mob looking down in a circle over the camera in like a good throwback cover kind of way. I'm pretty like not whatever about the actual cover, but I love the name. The cover is, it's just a bunch of silhouettes and stuff, and I only know like 2 or 3 of the mob guys, so it doesn't mean a lot to me, even if for all of y'all who really do love the mob, it means a lot to y'all. But I respect the symbolism of this is my family and my crew and etc. etc. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful with that. But yeah, that's all I got to say about the cover. And yeah, any ideas or thoughts there?
No, you pretty much summed it up. The only thing that like I felt was it really shows his like knowledge of hip hop. When I saw the cover right away, I thought NWA, how everybody's like looking down right at it, right? And it just goes to show like he's not lost from what he originally started from. He's still trying to change, but he's also trying to keep that like origin of hip hop and that culture still going. So it was really cool.
That's cool. So before we get into it, this one has a lot of bass. It's a fucking distorted record.
I don't feel a thing. Yeah, I'm faded. Yeah, I'm shaking. I don't feel a thing.
So we went to the rave, and the deep bass was playing, and like there was some sweating kids popping some stuff, dancing. I'm sorry, that's just what I pictured when I first heard those sounds. It was that
Right.
kind of a setting in an environment, and I like it. Like if you consider that this album's an experiment, it's a very bold way to start this. Now, I can't say I'm too familiar with his catalog, but this is definitely not how you expect a hip hop album to start, in my opinion, at least, right? Like this sound, this overall almost like he's basically crossing lines on purpose, and lines that maybe aren't. Like this song sounds like offensive to your ears in my speakers in my room. It sounds pretty. It's like on my headphones, it's
no.
kind of mixed. Okay,
My headphones, it annoyed me.
but like I liked it like a lot more on my headphones, which has a better distribution of sound. So I can see how like in the fucking club or something, this sounds blessed. But on like the shittier your headphones are, the more awful and annoying it sounds. And then he just kind of comes in and he like raps on over it and.
Well, he's bragging. He's bragging about how he's the best, how he's like the king, and he's gonna let other MCs know that he's like the hottest rapper on the block. From what I've heard from Rocky, from songs that I've listened to, it's consistent. So I was like, hey, that's that type of swagger he's got, that type of flair, that attitude. So it was dope. But my only beef with it is really the distortion and the noise and the music. It was like. I guess I get it. Like you're changing waves, you're changing flexes, but like,
I think he literally says waves in this.
oh, possibly.
Maybe. I know
But,
he says
like-
it on the album.
No, I wasn't impressed with that.
So how did you feel about it?
I gave it a 3.5 because
Okay.
I can respect his rapping and I can respect like him flossing. Like that's like again the Rocky that I used to know, right? So I can respect that, but it's just I'm not going back to this.
That's fair. So I liked the way he used effects a lot on this album. As an example, on this song, when he sang "From Another Planet," "Birthplace," "Cloud9," "Hello Earthlings," it has this really kind of cool, like spacey feel that really fits the beat. And as much as it comes in harsh and offensive, it does flow into something that is like more of a hip hop crossover beat. And the way I saw it, he also goes a little political. In the next line, it's my newest president's an asshole. I guess that's why I'm leaving turd stains. Poop bars, just to show you that other people use poop bars. But no, yeah, I'm gonna bring up every poop bar I find from now on because some people on the Revival review said anyway. That's not really that important anymore. Still, he is calling out Donald Trump here, and I do like the fact that right on the first song, he took the time to like make sure that you knew that at the end of the day, he still kind of stands for something in the middle of just. He's going to use his platform, at least to some degree, to represent shit. And it isn't just, I'm the best. And I can appreciate that side of him. And it made his braggadocious nature less annoying than maybe some other people are, because as much as he feels he's the best, he's just at a point in his career where he's popping and he just feels that way. And I can respect that. But he also doesn't come off like I'm a piece of shit because he's the best. He's just kind of, in this sense, confident with who he is. And I kind of like that distinction that he seems to have here. I did want to ask a question to the audience out there because I was a little bit confused. He goes at one point, I can feel the bass, I can see the fakes, word to TD Jakes, word to Pastor Mason Kirk Franklin. Fuck what? Think I'm about the bank, etc. Now, the way I took the line, he's calling all those people fake. Like, he's calling Mace fake. And I know he shouts out Cameron somewhere else on the album, and I'm kind of ignorant about all the beefs and the who's on whose camps and stuff. So I was just wondering if that was just him taking shots at those particular people by calling them fake, or if it was in fact the opposite and he's saying those are the real ones and whatever. So I misconstrued the line a bit, and I just was curious what y'all thought about that. Nice. But I get us a 4 because I don't necessarily love it, but I also don't necessarily have any kind of real issue with it. It's a cool experiment. It kind of fits the album, and let's say this did come on at a party. This is a pretty hype track. If I'm in one of those boppity, I'm in the like EDM kind of mood, and this comes on, it really fits well with that feel. So it's maybe not my go-to, but I'm not left with a bad feeling in my mouth like Chris over here.
I will agree with you on in terms of the album. I think that like I kind of get this feel like a rough start, a rough beginning, and it's like a really rough raw track. So that's cool. That is cool. Still a 3.5. That's cool.
But what matters is that ASAP Forever remix.
It's my time to go adios, dominoes, like no Dominicano, but eat the toast on this with platinos.
Like, before Chris tells us how he feels, because he can go kind of first here, I was just thinking, like, maybe a few months back, like, before anything I've ever heard this song, wouldn't Porcelain make, like, an excellent, like, fucking hip-hop beat? Like, Porcelain is so awesome for that purpose. Why does nobody rap over Porcelain? In case y'all didn't know, Porcelain is like the main sample of the song. It's the Moby part of the feature, and Moby kind of sings at the end. That's a direct rip from Porcelain. One thing ASAP does a lot on this album, and it kind of is cool in the experimental sense, so I'm not hating it, and then this was excellently done, but he samples a lot of songs and just like puts it down right underneath whatever he did.
Again, part of the culture. Back in the day, they used to sample a lot of parts of music, as we see as well.
But this is a little bit... in later songs, I'll get a little bit more onto what I mean. This was eloquently done, though. This was a smooth, like, had Moby almost doing the backtrack at the end when the girl... did I write her name down? I don't remember if I wrote her name down. I know it's in the credits below here where I put it there. But so she's singing there, and it sounded really good. T.I. is like a featured guest, even though the girl sings more than T.I. does, and she's not featured as a credited person. I thought that the features on Spotify were a bit weird, considering how many extra people were featured that didn't get that feature spot. But T.I. just kind of like shows up at the beginning, right, to validate. Right. Anyway, you should go. I said you would go first, and then I started talking.
Well, initially, you can talk about the T.I. validation. I'm more interested in what ASAP was saying for his verses. A lot of it is he's representing ASAP Mob. He's representing the ASAP way, the way that they move, the way that they stay connected, and all of that. But something I noticed when he went, I I'm on my live alone, dive alone, ain't talking about spending or buying clothes. I'm about my business, but I'm alone. And it just feels like he kind of feels like, I feel like he's dealing with something. I feel like there's this sense of loneliness while he's kind of up at the top with everybody, even though he's got his crew and everything. I feel like there's this disconnect. Now, as I heard, ASAP Yams is passed.
Yes, that happened.
So that could, I feel like that could also be a reason why he might feel alone as well.
Actually, if I may just interject, something he said in the performance art piece is that alongside every album release he's ever had, somebody passed. I think most recently was his sister, and then somebody else. Like, he's basically has this weird trend where he releases an album and somebody very close to him passes. So it is ASAP Yam is included in that, but it's actually way deeper than that. So you're totally
Fair.
onto something.
Fair. So clearly he's dealing with, like, you know, loss and there's pain. So I could see how he's feeling alone, even though there's like a group around him. And then Kid Cudi, and I was like, oh, hello, I haven't heard you in a minute. Where have you been? And
Wasn't he in like rehab or therapy or something?
Well, that would explain how I feel like he's matured and grown up, because a lot of the music back then I felt was like, you know, I relaxed to it, jam to it, do what I gotta do. But it wasn't like, it didn't feel like it was like trying to, it was more like I'm lost in my head, drifty type music I felt. But then he goes, was up in the city, the one that's surrounded by lights, wanted to burn it away, get out of his lane. Got no time, don't need no advice except from my mama. Ride for my daughter. All I need, she got her father as I go. And I was like, oh, okay. So I've seen, from what I used to listen to with Kid Cudi, and now I see some growth, I see some maturity, and I was like, I enjoy that. And knowing that he's not really out here for his own gain, he's also doing it for his family. That is also something that I can really respect and cherish. So I enjoyed that line there. Overall, the song is great. The song has this nice wrap up to it at the end. It's this soft with that, and I don't even have her name either. But the girl who's singing, she's got this beautiful like feel to her voice as they're wrapping up the track. It was great. I gave it a 4 on 5.
Yeah, I definitely like this one a lot more than the first one, and part of it for me is my desire to see Porcelain used in a beat coming to fruition.
Biased.
So it totally was. The video is really cool. The video doesn't have Kid Cudi on it. It does have the Moby part and whatever, but it just kind of has these quick flashes of ASAP going about his own way. Like, he first is excited because his lady friend is a bisexual, and he then at some point wants to make her blonde, and he makes out to them while listening to
Frank Ocean and Blonde.
Yeah, and then that's big. Anyway, he has a whole thing. He annotated a bunch on Genius. If you want to like see what he has to say about those things in particular, he's one of those guys, and I do appreciate when an artist takes the time to leave annotations on the lyrics they felt were most significant. But I really liked when he was like, MarGielaa madman with cases I'm still trying to beat, a bunch of shit from a long time ago. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Like dominoes, Geronimo's. When it's my time to go, adios, vamonos. And I thought it was so interesting. Just that, like, this self-awareness and this reflection of, like, my dad used to say, be sure your sins will find you out. And that was, like, one of his favorite fucking things to say. And it's like, when I hear lines like that always flashes into my mind. It's like, you know, no matter, like, he has become a completely new person, but that doesn't change the fact that the consequences of actions from yesteryear still kind of catch up and haunt him and give him that stress today. And I think that's a really relatable experience. So at least, like, he's a year younger than me, so I mean, I would imagine we're kind of dealing with similar, not to say we're like I'm anywhere in the same place as him, but like as far as like just being alive from the late 80s and all of this and just being where we're at in life, like this is when I feel my generation gets self-aware, around 30. So that's just my thoughts about that. Then yeah, I do like when he's like, the line Chris quoted there was really interesting. You do get the sense that he is kind of dealing with some stuff. Like, I'm about my business when I'm alone. I still had a vision when I was broke, fucking on bitches and foreign hosts, flying out women to boring shows. I pray to God I don't overdose. And it's like, you just see his escapism and the lie, like how he can recognize like how dangerous perhaps the life he was living at a certain point may have been. You get the sense that this is in the past, perhaps, and he's lost friends to overdose. So you can almost feel that pain of like being swirly in that moment, and having maybe the dream life that you're supposed to have, and just the emptiness in it. And then Kid Cudi follows suit. Kid Cudi, sorry, follows suit exactly like in the same kind of thing. I like how he's like, I'm free as a bird. I wanted this shit my whole life, but had this stress on my mind until I realized things pan out when it's right. In the meantime, I'm a grind. I think of days when I was so young on my plate, party and bullshit and play, was up in the city and whatever. And then he's like going to party a bit. And it's just, again, this self-awareness, this like, I did all those things you were supposed to do, but it never really filled the void. And there's almost this maturity in like the way that they're describing this reality that you don't often come across. And it's something that I guess I can appreciate. I've had a lot more experiences with drinking that were bad, as an example, than were good. On 2 separate occasions, I've woken up in the hospital, like blackout drunk, like what the fuck happened? And, like those moments are really terrible, especially when you do embarrassing things or whatever. And that's like a minute example of just whatever, but a lot of bad things can happen in a situation, right, I suppose. And to be self-aware enough to look back on those moments and find the value in them, to learn from them and to turn it into some kind of an artistic thing is just kind of inspirational to me. And then I love the ending. Oh, there was another line I really fucking liked. True to truth somehow, but never truly lied at all, then and now. And that's really cool. I like the idea of craving honesty and being pure like that. And then the way Moby kind of comes in on that outro, it's just gorgeous. So give it a 4.5 on 5. It's a really cool song. I could totally see myself going back to it, enjoying it again. But it also may be that I'm really just into it now and it fades out. So I'm 50-50 on that, and that's why it's not a 5 to me. But there is a lot more to talk about on this album. So Tony Tone.
I could give a fuck about it, yeah. I could give a fuck about you.
All right, Chris, how do you think about Tony Tone?
It was okay. I mean, I liked it, but it's really weird because the sounds on these album is just so different than what I'm used to or what I generally like listening to. So it's hard for me to kind of like try to go in and focus on some of the lyrics, because then I get trapped in the beat, and it's creative. But one line I actually really liked, when ASAP was like, I would say suck my dick, but that's sexual harassment. Take that. Let's go. And I like how he's just kind of going at the fact that everybody's super sensitive nowadays, and that there's a lot of like censoring. You can't really say anything without somebody getting offended. And I think that that's part of what's bothering him, because he feels like he can't really say much and he's trapped, right? As well, Puff Daddy's featured on the song, but I think he's just doing like ad libs throughout the track, and
kind of, yeah,
like just at the end has a little bit of an outro. For me, I also took away that this is a song shouting out Harlem, kind of like how it was in Harlem growing up, what ASAP was doing, how he made moves. I give it a 4 on 5.
So yeah, this is an okay song to me. It's weird, right? Because he really does juxtapose, let's say, his typical rap sound is what I would assume. The way he rhymes, the flows, right, the lyrical content. It sounds so like kind of an enlightened version of the stereotypes. So I don't hate like what he's rapping about in any way. But then you hear the music and it's just so cool. Like, I'm saying cool, like it's out there, it's weird, it's something completely different. This one didn't sit as well with me, I'm not gonna lie, but it wasn't bad. It was just like, I realized at this point that maybe the setting of me sitting in my room doing my album review thing isn't the right setting for this project. Like, I don't know. I started picturing myself again at some kind of a rave, warehouse, flashing lights environment, and I pictured the album there, and it sounded great in my head in that environment. This one just had some interesting lyrics too. I like the fact that, again, he manages to take this party sound and add in some actual points, like my mama named me, my papa gave me cock to take a piss with, which is true because a male has the X and the Y, and a woman has the double X chromosome. So when the sperm meets the eggs and stuff, basically the sperm either gives an X or a Y, which provides the gender. So he's biologically correct in stating that his father passed along the correct chromosome to give him a cock so that he could stand up and urinate, which is something I hear the ladies are jealous of. But he also was then able to have sex with your woman, which is fine. Life is different for me. For instance, for the type of sprays kids and some chicks he wouldn't raise his kids with, that's type of twisted sick shit. Now I love that little part there because it comes in like it just started off so like, yeah, okay, whatever, he's just fucking your bitch or whatever, and you might just write it off like that if you're like an ignorant hater. But the immediate follow-up lines is showing that he fucks responsibly and he understands like the value of it because he understands that there's a whole bunch of people who just kind of recklessly have children and abandon them. And
Right.
that is in his mind a despicable, disgusting thing. Like there's this little conversation that takes place between a woman and a man, and that man who A$AP Rocky's playing the role in that moment is kind of reflective of a deadbeat dad who's like dipping out because he found out she's pregnant and shit. I also like how later on in the song he's like, people really think I'm an asshole. I say anything. Truthfully, I just say what I really think. Like I'm too fresh, man. To me, you're underclass, man. And then the line, would you say suck my dick, but that's sexual harassment. Take that, let it go. So I like that because I mean, he probably does feel stifled by the language. I think a lot of us feel stifled by the fact that many of the words we may have once said in our youth are no longer permissible. And if you watch any comedy from the 1990s, it's very shocking what we used to really think was, I don't know, I'm having my own issues with what's funny these days. But when you really look at that line, it's like, I've yet to hear a rapper like actually just say, wait, this is no longer okay. Whether or not it's an ironic statement,
Right.
it's the fact that he just said it, and that's cool. Like, I don't know if other rappers have approached this subject at all in their rhymes. So A$AP Rocky, for me, is the first rapper to say it on wax that I have heard. And I really love that he brought it up because whether or not he was pro or against this, it's a conversation piece, and it's a conversation that probably should happen a little bit I would love to hear people's thoughts on that myself. I love the fact that he likes Bone and that he shouts out Bone Thugs the way he does. That was pretty cool. I gave this a 4. I thought it was like one of those, it's a good song feelings. Like in the right mood, I'm going to love it. But in a regular day, I don't know. It doesn't bring me anywhere. It's just kind of a good song in and of itself. That's okay. So last night we did this interview with this rapper, and it was late, so you could say we were like Fukk Sleep.
Tiffany, she flossy. Ain't concerned with who bought these. Can't forget that she bought.
So this song features an FKA Twigs who doesn't get the Spotify feature. Confusing. But how did you feel about this track, Chris?
I liked it. I liked the effort he's putting in to say that he's grinding so hard. He doesn't want to sleep. He can't sleep because he's always chasing that dream. And again, I get this feeling that, you know, he's also trying to speak out to other people in terms of wanting them to understand, like, you know, there's other people who can do it too. Like, you're not alone. Like, we're all chasing this dream. We're all trying to go somewhere we want to get to, right? And you got to put in the work. You got to put in the effort. You got to grind. So I thought that was really cool. I like when he goes, I got new bags under my eyelids, new bags up in my closet. Again, referencing, like, you know, he's always trying to be on that new thing. Even when he's like, the new bags line under the eyelids, it's like
when you don't sleep and you get bags under your eyelids, but the result of that is that he's so rich he can have brand new designer bags in his closet. Unless I'm wrong.
Or he's super rich that the bags under his eyes are made out of like gold.
Okay.
No, but it's just more like,
I'm trying to. Okay, go on.
no, it's just classic Chris right there. But it's cool to see the work that he's putting in, and, you know, to think that like other artists too are putting in that type of work, and that just the universal message of fuck sleep and get that paper, right? I gave the song a 4. I think it's just because I'm not really vibing with the music, like the instrumentals themselves. They're very heavy, very bass oriented, very not as distorted as the first track, but like they're still somewhat distorted to me a little bit, but it's still very creative and a good track. 4 on 5.
Yeah, you can tell that Mr. Rocky is a fan of certain substances that allow his mind to expand, is the feeling I get from his choice of music. In general, it's not just the choice of music, but it's the effects he uses his voice. Like wavy is a good way to describe his if the way they've mixed him. You can almost barely understand him, not because he's mumbling, but it's like it's so soft. Like I'm about this thing. It gets really like quiet like that. He kind of starts off a little bit political, a little bit, kind of says a couple of lines, and then just kind of goes in and just raps about a whole bunch of stuff. That's just kind of, I didn't feel like there was one cohesive theme. It was more just, this is my life. I got a lot of stuff going on. We house buying, surfboard, just trying to ride the wave. I was cooking up from another fucking tidal wave. Had to get entitled motherfuckers out the way. Had to take another title, sorry for the wait. Barely ever took a break on fashion like my time need. More hours in a day. I apologize if I'm late. So, like he does the fashion thing going on. He's out there kind of making moves and doing as many opportunities as he can get his hand on. I highly appreciated the part where he really just feels that 24 hours in a day is just not enough, that if he had more time, he could just get so much more done, and that in his mind, it's almost like music is not, he doesn't want to just be a rapper. He wants to be so much more than a rapper. Like he's a fashion model, he's a this, he's a that, and right. He's having a lot of difficulty maybe balancing it all out, but it's not coming from this like place of like fakeness almost. You just kind of get the feeling that he's so proud of his life, and that's why when he brags, it's not like annoying or anything like that. It's just it's like Donald Glover. Like nobody can be mad that Donald Glover has a fucking nicer house than you, because that guy just does fucking everything and puts in all the work. That's childish Gambino.
I know.
And then like that's how I felt like, and I thought that was really cool. And then this girl that he has with him, what's her name? FKA Twigs. She sounds so high-pitched and weird, like experimental almost vocals. Like you would expect that stuff with like windpipes at like an indie music festival, not on a rap song per se. Right. But he does sound so good next to her. In general, it almost is like this experience to listen to. I gave it a 4. I feel almost exactly the same way about this one as I did about the last one. And I think that I'm starting, like, as I listen to it more, it's like you appreciate how smart A$AP Rocky is in the way that he is able to add valuable message with standard flossing in this kind of weird mishkabibble of everything. So yeah, I don't have much more on this one. Why don't we discuss Praise the Lord, The Shine.
To shine, to shine, to shine. I hustle, I flex, the world is...
All right, Chris. A beat I think you can get behind. Have flutes.
I do like the flutes. I wrote that down. They have like this techno sound to them, like a little bit of like a synthesizing sound to them, so that was really cool. The beat is produced by Skepta, first off. And that was it. I think I might be a little bit biased towards that because it was different sounding than what we've already heard so far. So it was like a little bit of a refresh on the beat. It felt more like an actual rap track, not like not an experimental type of message, whatever you said earlier. But the song's good. They're both flossing about, how they came up from nothing and now they're doing it now. They're getting their money. They're living rich. I like when A$AP was like, time to go, lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels. That was just a really cool line. I didn't know that it's like in a British term of saying like it's all or nothing.
It's also a really great movie. I don't know if you've seen the movie.
Nope.
Tell him he has to watch the movie, please. Just be with me on this one. Just let him know it's a good movie. You should check it out.
Fair enough.
Keep going.
I also like, and again, like he's staying consistent with his fashion and the richness and being around the curb, right? Like my shades, Dior, my pants, velour, create, explore, expand, conquer, and it was just, I like the energy in that. I like how he's trying to like go all over the place and trying to just have a spot, like kind of dip his foot in everywhere and make sure he knows what's happening.
It's almost like in his mind, his choice to become a fashion model for Dior is an equivalent of colonialistic empire building tactics, is what you can take away from that line.
Definitely. In verse 2, we got Skepta. I really enjoyed. I've heard him before. I've listened to some of his music. I enjoyed his flow. I enjoyed his energy. But what I liked is when he said, "I waited in line, return, refine the new design. It's time to shine." And it's like, I feel like he had this sense that he kind of fell off for a minute, and then he put in the time to wait it out, see what's going on, try to get back, try to pick up all his pieces, and then come back with a new and improved way. And like, bang, there you go. This is the new Skepta. Like, this is what's happening, and now he's back in shining. And it's a good message to kind of like understand sometimes. Like you need, like we all, like not we all, but when you get that 15 minute of fame, I feel like you have to accept that if it's over, it's over. But if you want it again, you got to kind of start studying and finding out how to get back to it. I give it a 4.5 on 5. Right now, this is the running song for me on this album. This was great.
All right. My biggest criticism is the flow is pretty static. Like they don't change it up a lot. They kind of both take on the same similar feel, and it's not like it's a bad flow. It's just I feel like he was more versatile in most other songs on this album, so that was a little bit. Okay, but I can get past that. I like the part Chris quoted with the lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels. It was pretty fucking hard. Like, we can either rain check or we can make plans, pockets loaded, rocket loaded. Okay, let's rock and roll this. Like, that's fucking cool sounding, you know? And then he brings up the guns and shit. Locked and loaded, diamonds glowing, chart climbing on them. And you're like, oh, really? He's talking about winning in the albums, which is something him and his squad have had some success doing. So it's a pretty cool, like, series of good rhyming, good use of flow, good use of words, but still it was like that was the trick, and then it got repeated a bunch. My favorite part of the Skepta verse is I sold the pack, the loose, the hard. I listened to X, I peeped the bars, the snake, the rats, the cats, the dogs, the games that trap, protect your heart. And I believe it's Damien that he's quoting there with the snakes, the rats, the cats, the dogs part, and that's really fucking cool. We gotta do DMX again soon. I really like that guy. He's possibly one of my favorite rappers of all time. And so I like the fact that I guess Skepta called out an influence to somebody that I've always felt was super awesome with there. But it felt really well done, and it did feel a little DMX-y in the choppy delivery that came in. Otherwise, it's okay. I feel like the fashion lines in the third verse are well done, and like it flows proper. And I gave it a 4. It kind of felt like the other songs, but with Skepta on a different styled beat, right? But like, It hasn't necessarily given me anything new, really. It just feels like, it feels almost like this like mixtape experience of him fucking around, but like with crazy different like styles and stuff. I don't know. It's not bad at all. Maybe I'm just a little bit off in that last little idea there, but that's okay. Would you like to talk about Kodak Black and CALLDROPS? Okay.
So I'm just gonna go first because I don't have much to say. Kodak Black's in jail. In this song context, right? So Kodak Black's in jail.
If I'm not mistaken.
I don't follow. I don't know. Next thing you know, I wake up tomorrow morning and Kodak Black is free and there's false news. So nope, I don't know.
I'm just gonna Google it while you're talking.
Perfect. But I like what ASAP did. I like how they got this way to contact Kodak while he's in jail, and Kodak got to speak. And
he is in jail.
He is in jail.
And
All right.
That is relevant for this song, right?
I like what the song is. I don't know. I'm not going back to it. It didn't really do much for me. I didn't really understand ASAP's part, to tell you the truth. But I like how they ASAP gave Kodak that ability to speak for himself. in a place where, you know, he's in jail, in a place where Kodak might not feel like he's got that ability to speak up and say his opinion and say what he wants to say. But clearly, you know, he's upset that he can't see his baby. He's upset that they took it away from him. But I'm just, without any story, if one of you know and you were into Kodak Black, let me know.
Just Google it.
But,
there's like a million articles.
I want to be interactive with them.
But if you want to tell us all about should Kodak Black, okay, giving Kodak Black's a little bit of history, how do y'all feel about the free Kodak Black movement? And how do you guys feel about free rappers who have committed crimes who have been sentenced to jail sentences and stuff? Like, I find that regardless of the crime committed or the context, there's always a free so-and-so movement, as this song has the free Kodak. What do you guys feel about that? There you go.
4 on 5.
Yeah. So this song is a little bit interesting in the sense that it starts off with all sorts of weird spacey shit. Like, we're right back into the testing phase. ASAP's like singing on this one. It's not even really any kind of rapping. He has lines like, I was thinking to myself, maybe I should seek some help. Maybe I should blame myself. My mistaken stealth is going away. And then there's a sampled in, gone and spent the money. Scarface is the person sampled in. So you hear this like Scarface lines, like a chopped and screwed version of Scarface just appearing all throughout. And this is what I meant with the samples. Like, he just heavily uses them like right in the middle of his verses and stuff. And then it's going away, it's going away. So you have like ASAP kind of lost it himself, like kind of caught up in his head, and shit's not very good, is kind of what I took from that. Then all of a sudden, you have a phone operator describing how there's like a minute for like, or enough credit for like a call from a prisoner, etc. And then Kodak's like, wait, am I good? Yeah. And then he's like, yeah, you're on speakerphone in the studio next to the mic. And then Kodak spits this verse. That's why it kind of sounds a little bit bad. It's through the phone. It's straight ODB style. All the pain I went through turned into a singer. I put it all on my tattoos because of where I come from. If I ain't ever learned before this call is subject to a recording and monitoring, then this will be painful. Sleeping in institutions. Nice. I lost my baby, yada yada. He says last time I'm being free, and then the call gets cut, and then like that's basically the song. I agree that the quality of this song might not come off like the best, but like, it's pretty fucking cool, all things considered, that he's able to get Kodak Black, who's locked up, to be able to do this experience like that. Like, there is a sense of pain that I guess he feels a kinship with being lost, maybe making mistakes and stuff. Like, I don't really know.
Maybe they're even friends.
But I definitely felt that they both took on a more singier experience, and maybe they're both not the best singers. And it was a lot more about expressing this feeling in almost like a punk kind of way. And I really dug that. And I thought it was pretty cool. Like, it's definitely one of the ones I would have a little bit more trouble going back to this than some of the others, but I actually really respect this one. So I gave it a 4 on 5. Nice. That's all I got to say about that one. Buck shots from a shotgun.
Shot. You know my bitches got butt shots.
I want to go first because, like Chris, I don't have a lot to say. Like Chris on the last one, the beat is a little more standard and generic, a little less on the experimental side. It comes in and he goes on about the buckshot for a minute, and like almost every line uses buckshot. Now, I've seen songs do this to great effect, and this one I felt a little bit annoying. So it wasn't so fun for me to listen to how this song was put together. The energy's okay, so I don't hate how he raps. The beat's well produced, but there were two lines I thought were noteworthy and I wanted to briefly touch upon. Had a bitch sucking on a lollipop at the bus stop, and then green Glock, red Glock, buckshot. I don't care about the second part of that line, but it was just to show you an example of that's how this song is put together. But I've always wanted to get head at a bus stop, so big ups to him for pulling that off. It has been a huge desire of mine. I'm trying to convince somebody to participate in this said activity. But unfortunately, certain people may be scared of public security. So there you go. If you enjoy that, you can. Okay, hold on, shut up. From the fort.
So,
No,
Buckshot.
wait. From the fort, Fort Knox. This ain't Fortnite.
Oh, come
Get your
on.
shit rocked.
Why?
Because you said Fortnite.
Like,
and my brother,
yes,
my
me,
brother.
I was gonna recite that line.
That's cool.
hate
You can
this.
still talk about it. So my brother, just anecdote time. He played Fortnite, and we're trying to convince him to go on Twitch and become a person that does stuff like this. And so in his grand move, he just takes like raw footage of him playing the game, no anything, and he uploads 6 videos of this onto YouTube back to back. And fun fact, that's called spam according to YouTube, and he lost his Google account and just lost his email address and stuff. So now you know. That's what that happened when I heard the Fortnite line, but it was actually a really good line because people might get caught up in their video game skills or their keyboard warrior status, etc., etc. And so he's saying, yo, this ain't no game. But he said it in a quirky way, referencing the biggest fucking thing right now over on the Twitch world. Okay, I give this a 3.5 on 5. It is not really for me. Go ahead.
So, the song itself, what I got from it is everybody's kind of just explaining. There's Playboi Carti, there's Smooky, MarGielaa. My bad if I butchered it. ASAP. And they're all kind of just playing on with each other's verses. I like how Playboi Carti is like looping into with ASAP's verse. How Smokey.
I think it's Smokey or something.
My bad. Smokey sounds really great. I like the verse. It was different. It had a different tone, a different pitch. It was really cool. ASAP and Playboi Carti, I like how they were mashed together. They were kind of doing each other's ad-libs and stuff like that. I did quote the Fortnite line from the Fort Knox, this ain't Fortnite, get your shit rocked. But I like that because it shows how Rocky is still in tune with what's going on nowadays. I haven't yet heard a rapper bring up Fortnite. And it's one of the biggest viral gaming and on Twitching right now. Like, everybody's playing that. Maybe there was a PUBG, because, like, I know PUBG as well is also big. Maybe there was that line. I'm not sure. But it's cool to see Rocky be influenced by...
What about the DayZ lyric? Because technically DayZ was the one before.
True.
That's a joke.
But it was just cool for that. I gave it a 3.9. It was it did what it did. They talked about their environment, where they come from, what they're used to, but I don't know.
But it wasn't like enjoying some Gunz and butter.
Oh no, this was so much better.
Drop me home for the lovers bread. Mama's butter bread, man, I probably should be dead.
I could not figure out where the fuck Juicy J was on this. This is the song that I most think of when I think of the sample comment. There's Project Pat in here. They have stuff from some street type person written by Tommy Wright III. Still Get My Dick Sucked written by Hayward Ivy and performed by DJ Squeaky. There are so many fucking things happening at once in the verse. Like, he's got the rapping, he's got the multiple different samples he's throwing in. There's like layering, the beat's kind of like all over the place. And so this isn't all said to be like a negative thing. It's just this song felt a little bit more like an experience than like a song. Like, I don't know if you get what I mean by that.
I mean, it was okay. I didn't really like it, to tell you the truth. Like, I didn't like it at all. I thought it was... I liked the 3 6 Mafia sound. I liked how the Project Pack samples. I think that there was this supposed to be like Ode 236. I don't know where Juicy was. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's a skit in this song. There's like a little bit of like it kind of sounds like a skit, and somebody's like trying to, hey you, or something like that. I think that might be Juicy, but maybe. I don't know. I give this a 3 on 5. It's not bad. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It takes from the Project Pat from Still Riding Clean is that song. I kind of like the part where he's like, guns with the butter, guns for my brother, came from the gutter, cocaine in the buttocks, raise a box cutter, play undercover, paint in the Hummer, skate with your mother. There's just something about those words. Like, it just felt so grimy, right? Like, guns with the butter. Like, I don't fully understand. So, yeah, the title refers track refers to Gunz versus Butter model in economics, where government spending is broken down into two basic categories: Gunz, representing military spending, and Butter, representing food and basic goods for citizens. So the fact that seemingly Gangster Ryan also doubles over as a political thing is pretty fucking smart, and I appreciated learning that thing. So Gunz with the Butter, kind of showing whatever, I guess, the dichotomy of how life is split. And then Gunz for My Brother came from the gutter, some hood shit, describing the circumstances in his environment, especially with the idea that guns were put into the hood deliberately for nefarious purposes. Cocaine in the buttocks just sounds real. Like, it just sounds like that's somebody who's dealt with some shit. If you had to have cocaine up your ass. Box cutter, blah blah blah. And then Skate with Your Mother. Like, make sure that your mom's not safe. From what I've seen and things like Biggie and stuff, your mom not being safe is the mark of a motherfucker willing to come in for the hardest of the hard shit. I also like the "So Get Off My YKK, the President, a-hole, sorry, I don't know why I said it like that. Praying for a JFK, all he got was KKK. Now, I understand the sentiment of, I guess, where he's coming from. Like, JFK was a very inspirational person, and what he fought for was incredible, and his assassination is ridiculous, and there's a thing there. But I felt like one thing Donald and John F. Kennedy have in common is their adulterating, fuck any bitch that walk kind of mentality. And so there are a bit of similarities between those two dudes, and I thought that was interesting. That's what popped into my head when I heard those lyrics. I kind of felt this song was an organized mess that, like, I really wanted to hear. It made me go, I want to see him do more of this next time, and I hope it's, like, comes off better. But, like, it made me want to hear more of this, like, dense overuse of sounds and shit. It wasn't poorly executed in my mind. It just wasn't necessarily for me in the state that it's in. Like, I'm happy I heard it because it got my imagination going. So 3.75 on 5. Like, it's cool, but it's just kind of hard to get through. Next up on this project, we have Brotha Man.
Bitches why she goes. When I went to my brother, told him help me please.
Chris, how do you feel about Brotha Man featuring the homeboy French Montana? I believe Frank Ocean does a little bit here and there. I believe Snoop Diggity Dogg shows up for a couple of lines. And when I say a couple of lines, I mean we could call it two if we wanted to stretch it.
It was interesting. I think there's a sense of, like, Rocky trying to talk to his people, his community, and trying to just get everybody to kind of be equal and stop fighting, stop addressing what's been happening, addressing some of the violent acts or events that have been going on lately. Honestly, I'll be real. There's not much more I got from it. I don't really understand the crux of the message of this song, but I do like the beat in the background. It was so like it had this old school feel to it. This like you wanted to continue listening. You could see it. You can kind of see it play out as he's speaking. It was great. I gave it a 4 on 5.
Yeah, firstly, ASAP has this, like, muffled, like, condensed, like, it's almost a little bit tricky to hear him, but not done in a badly executed way. It's, again, a cool use of effects to create, like, diversity. It's crazy how, like, it went from, like, overt auto-tune to, like, these new just crazy ways of morphing your voice into a brand new, almost instrument of sorts. And he's got, like, this one little part that, like, just popped out at me the first time. You got to fight for something and stand for something. That's what the poem told me. It was a greater poet, you know it, but I'd rather talk about how my neck is frozen, and I'd rather talk about banging hoes and then stay up in the bitches while she dozing. And that's incredible. It's like you have the idea of him being aware of what the right thing to do. Like, he's had all the proper speeches, I suppose, the Martin Luther King Jr. speeches, the Malcolm X inspiration, these type of great role models that have told him what the right thing to do is. But then when push comes to shove, he just kind of wants to fuck some bitches and rap about that and kind of go off in this debaucherous sense. And like when I mentioned earlier, his self-awareness, it's so incredible to see him approach that kind of stuff in these rhymes to me. I like when he's like, then like Snoop Dogg, take heed, Lil, low-key take lead on a Okay. But I do like when he's like Harlem Nights, quick speed, Godspeed, speed like grease lightning. I mean, come on, how often do you hear a rapper bring up fucking Grease the musical? And Grease Lightning is the fucking jam off of that song. So that's the car where all the greasers get together and they're like, "Go Grease Lightning, it's a button up a corner of my." Anyway, it's a fucking good song. You should bump that shit. My mom ever actually watches one of these. I hope this is the one she watches. She loves that movie. And then leather on my 6-speed bike, bicycle tires, icicle diamonds, popsicle stripes, popsicles for Klondikes, pop wheelies on the dirty bikes, 15 selling China white cop stealing. If you the opposite of white, pop like you the opposite of right. And then Snoop comes in. But like I was blown away. That might be some of the coolest little choppy little rhyming structure that he has on like the entire project. He kind of comes in hard and references, I guess, just kind of what's going on in like the material side of things and what's going on, but then ends it on such a political note with like the cops taking out people who are not white, and like by being black you are just inherently wrong, you're the opposite of right. Like those are some strong and powerful lyrics that were put into this song. French Montana's singing is not good and the effects used did not save it, and what he had to say was pretty okay. I was not hating it, but it was like whatever. I love the all over the place and how every few lines it felt like there was a new ASAP on the project, a new like way to hit it, and unlike some of the other ones that may have been a little more static, he was all over on this, and that was so cool to like showcase his talent. It was a bit on the weird side beat wise. It was another weird one, so I'm gonna give this a 4. Like in the right context, I could see myself loving this track,
Right.
but in the current context, I'm feeling like it's just a good song. But really, beep beep, OG beeper.
Sneaking talking to my girlfriend, where you play? Hello? Mama on the mother.
And this is the story of ASAP Rocky.
Yeah. This is ASAP breaking down what he used to do back in the day, how he used to be up on the corner trying to, make some money, trying to do what he's got to do. I like when he went, all I've ever wanted was some money and some jewels. Pray my YouTube reach 100 million views.
Hey.
And it's like it's funny to hear that like now in new context, like from a lot of the music I listen to, most of the rappers, they're like hoping my track gets sold, the radio picks up my song, this, as they were growing up. But now to hear Rocky kind of be like, I hope my YouTube channel makes 1 million views, I hope my YouTube video, it's like there was like a kind of an acknowledgement of like, wow, there's really a change in the game. Like we're now worried about streams and we're now worried about, this and that, even starting off as a rapper because we can make it off like that. So that was a really cool line for me. I like how he's referencing the OG beeper being an OG and like this classic, trying to stay connected with the beeper, having to stay on low key. That was really cool. Other than that, I thought it was just a good song. I gave it a 4 on 5.
Okay. I felt like the song was a little bit like I feel conflicted. On the one hand, I respect the song, but I didn't like it as much as I feel like I'm supposed to. Like it was cool he kind of mixed up this weird style with some trap styles, with some rap styles, and he's showing how he's in conflict a little bit. Like why he's standing on the corner like a trapper, why he wave his hands around like a rapper, why his pants go up and down like a scrapper. Like he's like a walking contradiction, and that's like you get the sense that he's like, I used to sell drugs, but all I ever wanted to do was rap in my life. Now I get to rap in my life. And I feel like that is literally the crux of the song. Like, my whole life I just wanted to be a rapper. Then I grew up, and the boy became a rapper. My older sister made me wear a golden wrapper. And she said, watch out, because, the hoes will trap you. Now, I love this because condom use should be advocated and stuff. And especially with his previous feelings, expressing how so many men are frivolous with putting their semen inside of uteruses to create babies. So the fact that he then proceeds to advocate how his older sister, who has passed away, like her great wisdom to him that was even maybe life-saving was use a rubber, and he felt that was important, and he uses magnums, which are big because he has a big dick. So it's also pretty subtle and like braggadocious in the same kind of sense. So I just wanted to bring that up. I always want to shed some light on that because I don't feel like there's enough people talking about condoms in the media. I like when he was like, I was trapping since a young, by the way, back then, boy, I was a different dude, standing on the corner like I ain't got shit to do, nowadays feeling like I ain't got shit to prove. And I like the fact that he recognizes where he comes from, and he once maybe did some things that were not as the person he is today, and that he's growing into somebody different. And he went from something like he didn't have anything to do, and he's reached a point of confidence and understanding where he no longer needs the validation or whatever. He has nothing he doesn't have to prove anything. He's already accomplished all this shit. And I dug it. I thought it was okay. But like I ended up on a 3.9. Like I just didn't feel like it was a good song. I feel like it's a song I could admire, but not one that I really liked as much as I should or something. I don't know. The next one has a interesting message. So the kids turn out fine. So the premise here is, in light of all the fucked up shit like drugs and crime that kids may partake in, or the brutalities or the bad situation, the kids will turn out fine. And then he proceeds to present some convoluted stuff.
It's like he's kind of talking about this abuse of narcotics and wanting like escapism in a way as just a phase. That's what I get from this song. Like he's kind of sending out to like, he's kind of reassuring people who are in this loop that, you know, everything will be fine. Just, you know, everything will be good. It's going to get better. But also reassuring like parents or people who care, like, you know, the kids are going to be okay. Like, let them do what they got to kind of do. But I don't know if he's trying to advocate drug use, though. Like,
yeah, I don't know about. I think he's trying to be like the opposite force of like the, oh no, kids do drugs, everything bad happens, they can't even escape, because I think he's trying to like take the lid of the box that gets put on maybe the stereotypes that get attached to people, and saying, y'all don't have to worry so much. Let them have their minute, and you know, most of them are gonna be okay. Things are actually a lot better than you might think. More people do drugs and get jobs than get drugs and die. I guess the point of what he's trying to say, you know?
right.
Like, he's got, like, lyrics like, I heard all about the long trials in life, all the drugs on my mind, all the troubles I can find. Still, I smile, the kids will be fine. Just fine. All the colors are alive, no longer black and white. It's worth stating, he sounds like he's fucking wrecked on, like, some LSD or some really mind-expanding hallucinogen type shit. Like, this isn't regular drugs. Like, we're talking this isn't like your lean or one of the, no, this is
smoking weed.
Nah, this is like straight up hallucinogen. Like he had a bunch of mushrooms or something. So his mind is like all expanding and he's trippy and shit, and it feels trippy. Feels like he's fucking flying as he's singing these lines in this airy kind of stoned way. The beat really complements it. So my thoughts are, is he trying to like validate that because he does drugs, he made it, that maybe people need to be less critical about drugs? I wondered about that a little bit. I do like when he's like, ain't a killer, so don't kill the vibe. Disrespect him, that's a different side. Adderall and alcohol, the teachers called, the doctor called, the block too hot, the marshal called, see him grow and watch him crawl. And I guess it's just the criticisms of like the drugged up state of people and the problems and the police brutalities and the situations that everyone's kind of facing. And I don't know, like, I feel like it's a very idealistic message. I also don't know if it's a great message, but that's not necessarily the point. It's an interesting perspective. Like, it's a let kids. It's basically like a Young, Wild and Free by Wiz Khalifa and Snoop Dogg, but repurposed with like some serious fucking topics laced in. Almost like, look, let them have their moment because of the fucking bullshit they have to face.
But it could also be like a coping mechanism to tell himself, like, you know, like everything's gonna be okay, like everything's gonna be fine. Like maybe even him. Even A$AP Rocky as a kid, like when if he was doing drugs or whatnot, it's like everything's gonna be okay, like things are gonna get better. Yeah. I left the song at a 4 on 5. I think it's actually a really interesting song to go back and listen to really try to understand what he means by because again, I can't disagree, and I can't say that he doesn't sound like he's not like saying, you know, don't do this. Like that's not what he's saying. He's kind of letting people do what they want to do, but I want to try to understand like why he's trying to diminish that stress.
Well, I feel like it's a game. Like, you might have parents who are like, oh, my son's smoking their devil's lettuce. Oh, fuck, we gotta, like, torture him or something. You know,
Right,
like,
but I mean,
some
if
like,
you're
intense reaction.
doing, like, acid or something, or like shrooms, I mean, that's a different drug. That's, like...
Again, I would just say that I think the idea is that a lot of the stigma around certain things creates bad things, and instead people need to realize that most people are just going to be fine.
Fair.
Which I don't know enough about his background or the environment to think. I think maybe that's his world. I don't know how universal this message is, but it's definitely a bold thing to state. So I didn't hate where he was coming from, and I completely agree with the 4. That's where I'm at. It's one of those interesting songs. Like, this album wasn't boring to listen to. Even if there's stuff you don't like, it's like it's a cool, novel experience.
Yeah.
I hate the way this next title is styled, like the way he wrote it, but 143rd.
Oh, some whip it like I've been a slave, bucking from the 12.
So 143rd is the block he come from in Harlem, I think, back in the day. And that's cool. He does a whole interpolation from the song Cradle to the Grave by the Tupac-led group Thug Life, which I don't know that song, but I now know that hook that he put as the little hook of the song here. So again, it's an interesting move how much he's relying on classic samples to build out some of these songs. It's an experiment, and I kind of want to see more of it in the future. I'm not hating it, you know? Otherwise, you get the song sense that, like, he's kind of on the grind, he's working, he's like, you know, all year long, bruh, stuck up in my zone, all by my lonesome, pay the hoes my dues, I brought my own funds, when it's time to war, I brought my own guns, difference is I'm ghetto, but I'm wholesome, saying I try to switch it up like I'm on something, why you always treat me like I owe some? So it's, again, like, comes from this environment, this situation, etc. People act entitled, come at him like they owe him something. It almost sounds like all the other real motherfuckers out there in hip-hop, they always seem to have these lines, because I guess as you go on in life, if you try to keep it real, when you do put the work in, you end up in moments with folk who they just either turn out to be a little snaky snakes, or they turn out to bail on you when the going gets tough. I don't know. And so you have him just kind of expressing, I guess, his isolation and the loneliness that he may be feeling. I liked when he was like, couldn't work, open up shop around the corner, make him renovate where the killers stand. Now, I wanted to ask y'all out there on the internet, does that mean that, like, a shooting happened and, like, the place got shot up or some bullshit, and so they had to renovate after the fact? That's kind of what I took from it. So I'm wondering if that was actually the case, and so y'all can clarify, because you guys are the super hip-hop scholars usually. Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. I gave it a 4.25. I liked it more than some of the other tracks I've heard on the album. I feel like after a few songs I didn't really like, this was a really pleasant experience. So, yeah, that's where I was at with this one.
Nice. I enjoyed it. I think that learning about ASAP's past and where he grew up really gives context to what he's trying to do and change. I feel like he feels trapped, like he's still back in those days and he's trying to find a way out. I left the song at a 4 on 5. I'm still interested more in, like, the sound quality as well. Like, I like the samples. I like how they're trying to change up the different type of instrumentals they're making, and it's so just super weird that I agree with Holden. Like, I want more.
All right. Speaking of changes, the next song is called Changes.
The really cool thing I like about this track is how the voices consistently change throughout the song. Every verse is different. Every chorus has, like, multiple voices on it in terms of changing and playing up on the word change. So that was really cool. Now it is it's kind of a long track. It's about 5 minutes, and I like that he took a break and kind of let some of the music play throughout, to not have so much like dense, hardcore lyrics or like even just bars in general just coming at you. So that was good in terms of placement of how the song was made. But I mean, it was again, I feel like he's just expressing he's going through changes. He's dealing with certain shit. Verse 1, I felt like he was talking about he's dealing with like a breakup or an old girlfriend he used to talk to. And
Like he kind of like fucked that shit up.
Right. But he's also kind of feeling like just because I got money and stuff don't mean I'm not the same, you know? Like I could still try to do my best. Verse 2, he's talking about being distracted, being like not being able to focus on what he needs to focus on and what he needs to do.
Because he sounds like he's rebounding and wilding out.
Right. And then by verse 3, I feel like he's acknowledging what he's doing and trying to be a better person.
True.
And I gave it a 4 on 5. I gave it a 4.5 on 5, actually.
All right. I looked at this song like on a concept front. This is one of the strongest concepts on the album. Like it really felt full. Like it's a 5-minute song, so it's one of the longer ones on this project, and it's broken into 3 parts that sonically change, as Chris said, to kind of express the emotion of what's going in. But the lyrics also kind of fit really each part. So look, I got a text from this girl I used to see saying that, sorry, I even forgot about this part. Look, I got a text from this girl I used to see saying that she chose this other guy with whom she wanted to be with. Look, I apologize, but this message fucked me up. Then I would skeet every girl after replying, best of luck to you. I don't remember exactly what verse that's from because I suck at taking my notes in order like that. But that's referencing Underground International Players Anthem. I think 2 by UGK and Outkast, and that is a fucking hype song. But he takes like Andre kind of saying it, and Andre it was saying how he like getting married and he has to break up with all the cuties he used to see and stuff. And in this case, he kind of flips it and interpolates it in a way where the girl chose someone else, so the girl he's in love with. So fuck it, he's gonna bang anybody that he can. So it's the opposite of all like of the Andre 3000 thing, which is a great song. One of my favorite rap verses of all times is Pimp C's contribution to that song.
Nice.
I love when he's like, my biggest distraction is that I get distracted. People suing me for shit that didn't happen. I wonder what the world would be if they didn't have me. Fuck. Wake up to my Explore page, see my ex is getting engaged or getting married, and he just kind of goes on and describes a bunch of different distractions that are happening in his life. And I just like the fact that he's so open about the fact that at the end of the day, it's him indulging these distractions that are causing problems in his life. And that is some seriously mature, and again, I'm going to say it again, self-aware behavior to be displaying. It's like, I love how mature this 29-year-old guy is. It's like, it's cool. It makes me want to actually hang out with him and like get to know him, you know? I also dug when he's like, my neighbors hate how I be living now. Mad, it's loud, rich in the building. Like, fuck all the other tenants. He bought his, boy, you renting. So he's like, yo, all these people renting in the, you know, like they're all poorer than him. They're complaining they don't like him. But at the end of the day, he kind of is the boss around here. He's the one who's really established, and fuck everyone else. And that's kind of, I think, part of the rage out mentality. And then I was on the road on tour, and she just said I changed for the worst. So that's how you get the sense that he probably cheated on this girl a bunch of times and stuff bad happened, and that's why he lost that person in the first place. I thought this was a deep song with so much going on in it. It was like sweet. The music was like experimental, but in such a poppy, pleasant way that it really just sat well. I give this a 5. It's a fucking incredible song.
Nice.
Next up is Black Tux, White Collar, and I must say, he dresses fresh.
All black tussers get the white collars jealous like all my role models either.
How you feel about this one?
I like this track. I enjoyed what I understood from it, at least, because from when I first listened to it, I understood that I got this kind of like play on words with death. He was what is it? To the cathedral, tux like I'm married. And I kind of just pictured him like playing on the words of like being in a casket in a tuxedo, and you know, like he's gonna be doing this rap game until the end of time, until he dies and all that. But then I re-listened to the track, and I got this line. He goes, "All my role models either dead or in the pen. I had no choice to be that I am, stuck with bros, stuck to the code." So I feel like there's this sense of like there's like this story and there's something that was going on, and then third time I listened to it, I'm understanding that it's about cops, it's about the justice system, the government, how like
I think it's just about haters, negative, all sorts of different negatives.
really okay because
because you're right about everything you said, and it's kind of like that. There are all those different things that he's exploring.
Fair enough. But I do enjoy it. I think that I liked how he did that with the black tux and white collar, because he still tries to stand out as professional and fresh and tries to do what he can to be on top and not let the negative energy hit him. I gave it a 4 on 5.
Yeah, because the part right before what you said was the really I say motherfuck that you who for the hate that you investing. So first it's just his peers, his regular folk who hate him. That's how he starts it. Then the police because they want to arrest him just because he's black or whatever. Then the prison system, this ingestive was ingestive, and the prison system's kind of fucked up. It's literally Constitution of the United States of America allows for legal slavery as long as you are in prison into that industrial complex they have over there. But then I like how he follows it up with all black tuxes get the white collars jealous because that's his saying, in light of all that, I'm gonna be classy, I'm gonna stand out, I'm gonna do it right, like Chris was just saying. And then he has the line of how his role models are there. So at the end of the day, he is who he is because of the circumstances and the environments that have been given to him. I like when he's like, how can I not be negative when I don't trust my relatives? Want settlements and bitches want 7 kids. So he's like, man, my family's not cool. Women are trying to get knocked up and take my money like that. All sorts of everybody's trying to get something out of me. And he's having a little bit of trouble dealing with the situation. I like when he's like, fuck views and opinions and women to die seeming to shake off the image. But when I'm inside pretending to smile, I feel the same high from the vengeance. I mean, I know we're both growing. Who we kidding? Goodbye to the crack away. The picket fences, kids in the kitchen, because in the world I feel lost. I'm feeling trapped in my thoughts. And you get the sense that he's so caught up on details. He's probably a very anxious person from what I'm getting from that. He's trying to have this almost normal life and this basic stuff, but the world he's surrounded by and the bad things that are happening, these things spin out in his mind and he gets all kind of caught up in it. And he knows that vengeance is bad, but it's like a drug, like an addiction. And he wants to I don't know. It's just you got this crazy sense where if you've ever dealt with anxiety or something like that, when you hear somebody like this kind of express themselves and put their heart out like that, it's something really relatable where you can kind of almost feel better and less alone with that. And so I really dug the depth of it. I thought that the song was interestingly composed. It was alive. It felt really cool. These last couple of songs, it's the experiment went in a direction, I think, where he's fucking hitting the nail on the head proper. And it is almost exactly what I kind of wished a lot more of the second half of this album would sound like. And again, it has that maturity, that deep song concept. It's I could see how it's unfortunate how some people might be haters and turn it off before even getting here in light of how these last few songs seem to be some of the strongest on the album. So I'm giving this one a 4.5 on 5. I really fucking liked it. I would encourage you to listen to it. And there is one more left that we need to talk about, and it's Purity. Purity.
Signs track 6, rewind, dance crazes, read my mind, free my mind.
ASAP Rocky, we got Frank Ocean, and we got a pretty solid fucking outro track. What did you think about it?
This is pretty fucking solid. The want and the crave to have a pure mind with all the negativity that ASAP is feeling, or even Frank Ocean is feeling as well. But I think Frank Ocean is playing this this kind of character in ASAP's mind in wanting purity in the brain, wanting purity in what's going on, because from what I'm hearing from out the album, there's a lot of stress and a lot of energy that's happening to ASAP, and he just needs a moment. There's a part where he references the Kodak black collar dropping. There's a part where he kind of goes back to remembering about old things he used to do, and it's just, I think ASAP's trying to just explain you need to take a moment to step back, and you need to reminisce and reflect on what you are doing so that you can grow from it. And it was cool because the way the album ended with this song, it's the whole testing of different things is kind of feeling like different experiences in life, testing different choices and decisions, and then being able to kind of accept them all in one, and then just have purity with yourself, and then move on to the next step. It was really cool. I gave it a 4 on 5.
All right. I love this song. I give it a 5. It's one of my favorite songs on this project, and I cannot express enough how amazing this is as an end to this album. I think Chris said it perfectly, so I don't need to elaborate. It is like this is the result of the experiment. This is the end of the test, you know? The intro's interesting. I've been busy. I've been fucking busy. I've been busy fucking. I've been all kinds of busies, all sort of busies. Like shoddy is we fucking. Well, if not, then fuck it. Apologies to the fam. Anyway, so he's kind of describing his state of mind maybe for the whole album and maybe the whole process getting through this album, because he had described, especially in that lab rat experiment video, how maybe he's been distracted and it's kept him from finishing the project or getting ahead in life and stuff. So he's kind of acknowledging all of these distractions, and then he ends up that little thing. It's been busy shit, busy that, busy this, and I need a minute. And then Frank Ocean comes in and does his verse and etc. And it's an amazing verse, man. He comes in and he's rapping. He's not so much singing here. Like, it's a proper rap verse, and he does it very well. Spending time spinning out toward a desire that wasn't pure, born before virus was cured. Pitch perfect violins on the floor. Fast forward linings on my skull. This the type of design I could afford. Fast forward bands out. Got their hands out like they were acknowledging the Führer, meaning Hitler, like they're doing that Nazi salute shit. And that's some crazy stuff. Like, he was caught up in this bad desire. He went on this terrible path, and he created this environment with him where basically we're surrounded by that level of evil and negative shit going on in his life, etc. It was so fucking cool. I also like when he's like comfortable low, fuck Xans, comfortable slow, who the fuck ran? Because when you're on Xanax, even though it's a rush and it feels crazy, you're really slowing down and kind of sluggish and shit. Nothing is sweet, nothing in tank sweet. It's just a tank pee, salt on a slug, soda, a slug teeth, chewing on nothing. You're tweaking or something, you're reaching or something, you're speaking, speak up then, you're thinking, you're overthinking, one blink and I'm pre-coming. That's amazing. That could turn every thought into someone. And my favorite part of the pre-coming line is the genius annotation, where it's like, this is actually kind of romantic. Like, he looks at the girl and it's so amazing. He comes immediately because he's so enthralled with her beauty, or his beauty, I believe, because he's, I think, into the men. And yeah, I loved Frank Ocean's verse, as you can tell. I didn't really quote much from ASAP. Either I forgot to do so in my notes, or nothing was that noteworthy to me in terms of what was said. But it was the same kind of experience. He kind of flows super fucking well over the beat. And there's this little break in the middle where it kind of calms down before ASAP comes in. And I just felt this was the kind of closure I was looking for on this album, and it really just did a great job. Yeah, so let us know what you thought about that. I give this a 5, and I think that's about it for this project then. Basically, I gave this album a 4.19. I don't know that this is going to be anyone's favorite album of his, except for maybe people who are not like his hardcore fans. I could see how this is more like the favorite album of a bunch of people who are like, yo, I like that one album, like in the future. It's an experiment. It's totally a test. It's a bunch of different sounds, definitely influenced by more of an electronic series of synthesized sounds, while mixing it with some really classic staples like sample uses of classic hip-hop with like weird new sounds. His flow is pretty rappy. He more or less comes in with like what you would expect, I suppose, from him. Like, if I heard these bars, it's kind of what I expect from A$AP Rocky, so I guess that all fit up. But the way he delivered it and the way he packaged this was really cool, but mixed into some of the more standard rap tropes. There's a lot of depth, a lot of wisdom, and this dude is self-aware as fuck. So I like this. I'm more like sold on him now than I am on this album, is I guess what I'm going to say. It's an interesting project. I would love to hear what you think about it, but what about you, Chris?
The album landed at a 3.98. I think that's just because I'm not feeling a lot of the music itself. I think that there's some more work to be done in his testing. I think that I enjoy a lot of the music on this album. I'm just not going to go back to it, and that's also part of my rating, right? The other part is once I feel like once Rocky finds what he's looking for, we're going to get that sound. We're going to get that sound. And that's going to be the fire shit. For me right now, this is good. This is a good album, but I think he still needs to kind of
grow. We'll call it grow.
Yeah.
All right. So thank y'all for watching this. Without you, there's really no point making these videos. So you're fucking amazing for being here. Before we dip out, I'm going to just shout out again, Mozart, our Patreon. So if you want to request albums and get that fucking bump to the head of the line, you should check out our Patreon. It's the best way to do that. And yeah, so let us know what you thought. We care so much about it. If you dug the video, hit that like button, please. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought. Let us know what we got wrong. Correct us. We love that shit. Subscribe to the channel for more album reviews. We do new albums. We do classic albums. And we're just trying to educate ourselves and grow. So join the journey and learn with us and all that fun stuff. Hope you have an excellent week. Next week, we're doing the Kanye / Pusha T review because both of them are making little albums. So we'll just put two little albums together. Catch you next week. Bye-bye.